After Fossil Award, we're joined now by Prime Minister Stephen Harper in person, making his first appearance outside of the Bella Center here in Copenhagen.
How's that for a dubious distinction? Environmentalists in Copenhagen naming Canada the colossal fossil. That is just one of the many knocks Canada has taken this week at the climate change conference from activists, also from other countries, who were hoping Prime Minister Harper and his government would take a stronger leadership role in the struggle to reach a new agreement on greenhouse gas emissions. Margot McDermott has been watching those knocks all week from Ottawa. We've talked about them before. She joins me now. What has Canada done to deserve this latest award?
Suhana, according to the Environmental Climate Action Network, which is a coalition of environmental groups, Canada has done nothing positive, and that is why it has won this Fossil of the Year award. Essentially, it says it is a country that has done the most day after day at the summit to prevent a strong climate treaty. And it's also getting the award for objecting to strong targets and refusing to change that approach. And as they said, Canada has done just about everything a fossil-winning country can do to stand in the way of positive action. That's a direct quote. Of course, some people were actually there from Canada watching this today. One of them was Dale Marshall from the Suzuki Foundation. Here's a little bit more from him.
We blocked decisions on the Kyoto Protocol. We're leading the campaign along with Russia to simply throw the Kyoto Protocol away. We have the weakest target in industrialized world, and our country said before we even came here that we weren't going to be negotiating it, even though these are climate change negotiations. I mean, it really is discouraging to see how little the government cares about this. And you got to wonder whether this, the increased, MPs that come forward from the Conservative caucus questioning the science of climate change, whether that might not be an opinion that's held by the cabinet and by the Prime Minister.
Margot, these are the crucial hours as things wind down. We're still hearing rumors that might continue, but in the meantime, what is Canada doing at these final hours?
Well, Suhana, we're actually getting some new information just in the last couple of minutes from Copenhagen. No indications that Prime Minister Stephen Harper will stay on past today. It doesn't look like the other leaders will too, but a possibility, in fact, that Jim Prentice, our Environment Minister, will stay on to at least tomorrow, and that the Canadian negotiating team will stay on until Sunday. Also, some more information too about what Canada is doing behind the scenes. We talked about funding for developing countries to adapt to climate change. Short-term funding has been pledged, about $10 billion, a pot of $10 billion, and long-term funding. So there's actually a sheet of paper that we have seen, some of our reporters in Copenhagen have seen, short-term funding and long-term funding, 2 columns. And a handful of countries, about half a dozen or so, that are in the group with Canada negotiating. They've each signed up and put their pledges beside the short and long-term funding, either one column or the other or both. Canada is the only country that has not committed to either actually a dollar figure to the short-term funding for developing countries or the long-term funding down the road. So we're the only country that has not done that. And the word from delegates who were there, and this is a direct quote, that they were, Canada used to be a player in these negotiations. There was concern that, in fact, they would be just a passenger in this summit, but it turns out that in their view that it appears to be a roadblock in these negotiations, and that's the word from the floor in Copenhagen. So a lot to be asked when the Prime Minister comes back, and potentially Canada will step up by the end of the day and pledge some funding.
Thank you so much for that update, Margot. That's Margot McDermott in Ottawa.